Today I'm going to be talking about some very current MS research, and they're looking at a potential new therapy for multiple sclerosis, and it has to do with mitochondrial transplantation. So we're going to talk about this. Would it be potentially helpful for MS? Is this something that we might see fairly soon? And so this is a really important topic to talk about because I didn't realize, but there is a fair bit of research going on in the background about this very topic. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha. I am the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And I love to discuss topics about multiple sclerosis and other chronic diseases because I was diagnosed with MS over 30 years ago. And by treating the cause of disease, I've been able to live MS-free. It's been over 30 years now. And I've had the amazing privilege to coach hundreds of wellness champions in their recovery also from multiple sclerosis, but also other diseases. I'm going to share with you a really amazing success that I just received on our call last night. You just never know when you hear the successes of the students, when you get these incredible, profound successes, miraculous, things that you wouldn't think would be possible. So let's talk about mitochondrial transplantation. So maybe you have worked with a functional medicine doctor before, or maybe you've watched some videos where different functional medicine doctors are talking about mitochondrial dysfunction. And so basically, it's really linked with a lot of different neurological diseases. And we talk a lot about especially like ALS, PLS, Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, these types of disease. So we know that mitochondrial dysfunction is really present in all chronic disease, even things like autism. But we're going to be talking more about the neurological diseases in this video. So we know that there's been several studies that have really linked, again, mitochondrial dysfunction with chronic neurological diseases. And we'll talk about what mitochondria are. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that when we have disease, there's always chronic inflammation present. And the chronic inflammation in chronic disease is caused by our immune system fighting something. And what we have come to find is that there's tons of evidence, there's a lot of research showing that in all chronic disease, there are infections. There are these chronic infections that our healthcare professionals cannot pick up. They don't have good tests. They are not able to recognize them. They haven't been trained in recognizing them. So we have these chronic infections, which our immune system is fighting the infection, but also fighting the toxins that these infections produce. That is the inflammation. And so with this inflammation, we have mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are these little tiny organelles inside of our cells. And think about them like a little organ. They're inside our cells and they make energy. They're like a little energy factory. They make ATP. They have other jobs also, but a really big factor is that they make ATP. So we're not going to make this a biology class. We're going to keep it as simple as I can. And so the researchers have found that when people are dealing with a lot of inflammation and they have a disease of some type, they also have mitochondrial dysfunction, meaning that the mitochondria, these little energy factories, are not working properly. And so they're thinking, well, maybe because they're so important for the nerve cells to survive, to live, to thrive, to do their work, and they're not working properly, maybe if we could transplant some mitochondria into the nerve cells, the healthy mitochondria, that the nerve cells would work better. So that's the premise of this type of research. And so they suggest that giving nerve cells or patients that have these different neurological diseases, if they give them healthy mitochondria, that could possibly be a treatment that could help the nerves to heal themselves and regenerate and not to die, to survive basically. So the mitochondria we mentioned, it's like a little organelle, and we know that in our brain, and our brain uses a lot of energy. It uses about 20% of the energy that our body needs. And there are a lot of mitochondria present in nerve cells. So there's lots in there because it needs a lot of energy. And in MS patients, there have been several studies that have shown that whenever there is nerve injury, the mitochondria in the nerve cells, they're not working properly. And this can really impact the progression of disease. So spinal lesions, this is really interesting. Spinal lesions that we would see on an MRI scan, but they have found that they have dramatically reduced numbers of mitochondria in spinal lesions of MS patients. So in a nutshell, like if you would like to carry on like learning about this, studying about it, I will be providing, what we do is I'll do a video right now, answer any questions you have, and then we will upload it to our newsletters, a blog, and you'll have the written, the video, and you can check the references yourself so that you can do further research if you want. But before we go that far, it's really important to understand, like, is this really going to help us? Is this going to help us get closer to a cure? So in summary, what researchers are saying is that they feel that mitochondrial transplantation presents a new paradigm of therapeutic intervention. So they're kind of thinking it's a new way of treating that benefits the survival of our nerves and regenerates nerves in diseases, in different neurological diseases. So this is not just things like MS, ALS, PLS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, but also brain injuries and also people that have strokes. So they're basically feeling, or they suspect, and that's why they're doing the research, that if they could supplement, if they could give people that have all these different situations, diseases, conditions, if they could give them extra healthy mitochondria and deliver that into the nerve cells, that would really help people to stabilize, recover, etc. What are my thoughts on this? I'd love to know your thoughts too. Make sure you type your thoughts in the question box, in the comment box. But what are my thoughts? Well, if you look at this, mitochondrial transplantation is another therapy or treatment that would be treating symptoms. Okay, so there is a reason why our mitochondria are not working properly, why they're suffering. And so simply to be adding in extra mitochondria, and then there's a safety issue, like, is this our own mitochondria? Would this be mitochondria from other people, from animals? What is the procedure of getting these mitochondria? So number one, it's going to treat symptoms. It's not going to cure us, right? Because there's something that is hurting our mitochondria, hurting our nerve cells, hurting various parts of our body, right? And so we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on just giving extra mitochondria. So number one, we're not treating the cause. Number two, it sounds really expensive, and it sounds like I don't like being a guinea pig. So I personally would not go for it unless it was tested, tried, and true for many, many years, that we knew that this was safe, because they're talking about gene therapy. And so whenever you're doing gene therapy, it's like, okay, so you're messing with my genes, or you are modifying my genes, or doing something with my genetic makeup. Like, that is something like I would really, there has to be a huge benefit for the risk, right? So again, is it safe? Is it cost effective? Is it treating the cause? Is it actually going to be a cure? Or is it something that we're going to have to rely on for the rest of our life? We're going to have to rely on getting our dose of extra mitochondria. And is just getting mitochondria going to be enough to stop the disease progression? Is that the only factor? Is that the only part of that is impacting nerve injury? So this is quite a long shot to me. You know, if somebody was like, if we're talking about stem cell therapy, if you're an athlete and you're super healthy and you have a healthy microbiome and you have a terrible injury, then stem cell treatments can be helpful because those little stem cells, they'll go to the area of injury, they will reproduce, and they will fix certain areas, and you're good to go again, right? But then when you have something like MS, which they call a mystery, and we know that it's not a mystery, we know that it is caused by infections. I've shared lots and lots of research on this. And there's tons of research, even this year, talking about dysbiosis and the gut microbiome in MS. And this is not just for MS, it's for all chronic diseases. So we know that we're dealing with infections, and these infections are not getting treated when we use things like CCSVI, stem cell treatments, or even mitochondrial transplants. And so then all of these different therapies, and including the disease-modifying drugs we're using right now that are suppressing our immune system, they're all trying to manage symptoms in our body. They're very lucrative. There's a lot of money involved. It's something that, you know, we're a customer for life, basically. We suffer terribly. We lose our health. We lose our independence. We lose our life. It's not treating the cause, and this is really frustrating. So this is another, to me, it's a bunny trail. If they were treating all the infections and they wanted to give you some mitochondria to just help you to just kind of get back to the normal quicker, but it was really safe, it was your own mitochondria, and the procedure that they're using is like there's no risk for anything, that's fine. That would be like if they treated all the infections and you got some stem cells from your own fat tissue. But the neat thing is your body knows how to heal itself. Once the infections are gone, we see that the mitochondria are working well again. There are new cells produce new mitochondria. And so to say that it is a permanent genetic mutation defect that your mitochondria, we don't see that in our students. When our students are treating these infections effectively, and it does take work, but when they treat them effectively, their energy little mitochondria, little factories, they start working better again. People have lots of energy. There's some of our students that they've never run before, and they've started to do 5K races after they've treated these infections. So I think their mitochondria are just fine. So that is this is the problem with where we are today with healthcare. But the researchers, which are funded by certain companies, they are looking for, they call them solutions, but they're looking for treatments, therapies that are profitable, that could give us some symptom improvement. Could is the operative word there. They could give us some symptom improvement, but they want a customer. They want, and if you are taking some of the newer MS drugs, I would really encourage you to look to see how much they're being billed to the insurance companies. The newer drugs, they're over $100,000 a year. And some of our neurologists are getting kickbacks on that, on prescribing them. It is a disaster. A lot of people have mentioned to me that when they've been diagnosed with MS, their neurologist gives them a list and says, here, you pick a drug that you want to take. And they look at the doctor like, what? How am I supposed to pick which drug? So that, to me, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in those drugs, because then it's like, well, I'm not a doctor. How am I supposed to pick? There must be some rhyme or reason to why we use these drugs. It's just awful. So again, I'm all about treating the cause. I'm all about recovering, doing whatever we can do to recover from chronic disease, treating the cause, getting our life back, getting our independence back. And I just wanted to see if there was anything here. So again, all of the treatments we're using right now for MS with standard of care, which are the disease-modifying drugs, they are simply suppressing our immune system, which is supposed to minimize the symptoms. But if you're on these drugs, you know that for most people, you don't even know if it's doing anything. So I wanted to share, just yesterday, we had our Live Disease-Free program live Q&A call, and one of our students that I haven't heard from, like she's participating, but not all the students, like they're very active, but she just hasn't given me an update for a couple of weeks. So she shared, "Hi Pam, this is an update for you. It took me about 1.5 years of treating to get to this point." So she's treating infections. I'll talk a little bit about the steps in a minute. So she said, "It took me about 1.5 years of treating to get to this point, to get to where I'm at today, but I still have some work to do. But in the same token, it's been almost 20 years ago that I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. My spasms have finally disappeared, along with the mood swings, the depression, the constant inflammation, which was causing my hand to contract like a claw. I had forgotten how slender my hands are supposed to be. My last treatment cycle, the parasites were almost non-existent. And I now feel that I can start to build strength again. Thank you so much again, Pam. Much love." So this is a student who is not treating symptoms. If we're in a lot of pain, sometimes we need to use something to deal with the pain. But we want to treat what is causing the pain. We want to treat what is causing the spasticity, what is causing the mitochondrial dysfunction. Not our mitochondria, they're genetically programmed. They all have genetic material. They know how to function properly. We just have to support the various parts of our body so that it can run optimally. So that was such an amazing part of my call. I was really excited. We've had a few others. I should have shared a few other successes, but hers was just like at the end of the call, I saw that and I was like, whoa, that was amazing. So happy for her. And, treating these infections is not a cakewalk. Why is that so? Because number one, by the time we have multiple sclerosis, ALS, PLS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, we have a very high level of parasitic infestation all the way into the central nervous system. And then it is really difficult to find practitioners that will recognize this, they don't have good tests either, and they have never used these various types of parasite treatments. So they don't know how to treat parasites. They honestly believe that you don't get parasites unless you travel to a third world underdeveloped country. And nothing could be further from the truth. So this beautiful student, she has been working with a lot of horses. Not to say that if you work with horses, you're going to get MS, but that was one exposure of parasites to her. And we get exposures in many different ways. We could be working in the dirt, in our garden. We could be eating in restaurants. The produce that comes from other countries may have, different, they might use different types of fertilizer where there's animal or human waste that has not been cooked enough in these, in the peat moss, or not peat moss, in the different types of what we're adding, the organic matter that we're adding to our soil. So shopping carts, there's very often fecal matter on shopping carts. I know maybe with COVID, they've been disinfecting the shopping carts more, but parasites are all around us. We can't avoid them. I think that the reason that we've seen such an increase in chronic disease and in parasitic infestations is because a few factors. Number one, the overuse of antibiotics, and that was the case for myself and for many of my students, especially when we were young, sometimes before the age of 10 or before the age of 20. And then high processed carbohydrates. So we decreased the fat because we were all on a low fat diet. And then we increased the carbs, and that is their favorite food. So those would be two really big factors of why. And yes, there are other things in the environment that can weaken our immune system, but The overuse of antibiotics is really the single greatest factor that devastates our natural defense, our microbiome, leaving us susceptible to whatever parasites we're exposed to that are in our environment. To give you a quick rundown, I'll go to your questions in a minute, but to give you a quick rundown of successful treatment, like when we are so terribly infested, number one, we have to follow a diet where we are decreasing the food to the infections that are making us sick. So we know that their favorite food is carbohydrates. So we're decreasing the carbs. And this is the Live Disease-Free diet. You can start on it. You can find, I just did a blog post, I think last week, where I have the cheat sheet and video of the guidelines. It's also in the Live Disease-Free community on Facebook. And it's on our website, so you can find that. And there's a playlist on YouTube, Live Disease Free, with what I eat and the guidelines of the diet. So you can learn the diet. You can start to notice symptom improvements in as little as a week. That means the inflammation is starting to go down. That is the first step to recovery before you get ready. That's part of getting ready to treat. So number one, stop feeding those infections so much. You can't kill them with diet, but you can definitely make them less active, less poisons, less inflammation, and you start to feel better. Number two is support the body, making sure you're sleeping at least 8 hours a night. And yes, sometimes we need sleep aids. There's over-the-counter ones that can help. Making sure we have daily bowel movements, really important. If we don't sleep, we won't heal. If we don't open up the detox pathways, we will feel horrible and we'll have these parasites decomposing in us when we treat them. That's not a good thing. So we want to have the detox pathways open and have sleep. And then just things like reducing mold, making sure you don't have mold in your environment, and also radiation. So making sure that you do not have wireless radiation, decreasing that. Now we're dealing with 5G, which is even stronger. And, in many cities, so there are ways you can decrease it. You can still work with technology, but you do not have to be exposed to a lot of radiation. And then we get to the place where we're ready to treat. And then we use a combination of things. The parasite drugs by themselves are not enough. We use oxidizing agents. We use parasite drugs, sometimes fungal drugs, and herbs. So the successful prep phase, which is the diet and supporting the body, people have a lot of symptom improvements. Inflammation starts to go down. And then you can be like this student after treating. And for people that catch it early, they don't necessarily need to do 12 treatment cycles. They might do 3 or 4 to 6. It really depends. There are some students that catch multiple sclerosis really early, and then they sometimes are almost symptom-free by the time they are ready to treat. And that can be 3 to 6 weeks in. But then they still have to treat, because if you eat the wrong foods, then it's like putting gas on a fire and the infections are active, the inflammation is higher, and you feel more symptoms. But it is just, I've got hundreds of pictures of worms, and it's not just worms that are the parasites that are causing MS. We know from research that I've been sharing even this year that multiple sclerosis and all neurological diseases, we are in a state of dysbiosis, meaning that we're out of balance. We have too many disease-causing microbes and not enough health-promoting microbes. So this would include big and small worms and protists, which are single-celled, like amoebas and babesia, different single-cell parasites, bacteria, fungi. Viruses could be active. We don't focus on them because they're the smallest of the group. And as the immune system is stronger, because we have really decreased these burdens of infection, then the body tends to deal with viruses a lot better. So the treatment part, you have to work with someone. You don't know how to use these treatments safely. You don't know what to use, how to use it, how long to use it. That is a key. We want to avoid Herxheimer reactions as much as possible. There's no benefit to a Herxheimer reaction. So if you do a successful prep phase, and then you're using the treatments that are testing well for you through energy testing, then you'll notice that when you introduce things one at a time slowly, you'll notice that you just feel better and better and better and better. So So with a student that I just shared, like she has been noticing symptom improvements this whole time, but now she's to the point where it's like, I think I'm almost done. A little bit more work to do, but almost done. But she's had MS for 20 years. Just imagine if she would have found this information and found this step-by-step plan, if she would have caught it within the first 3 years or 5 years, it would have been a lot easier. And that's what I always say, is that the earlier you treat, the easier it is to treat, and the more recovery you will have. So the exciting thing is, like, some people say, well, is it too late for me because I've been in a wheelchair for so long, or, I haven't been able to use my hand. It's been like this clenched claw, or however it is. We've seen several students where their hands just relax. And I just shared, I think a couple of weeks ago, another student that's in the process right now. And that was one of the first symptoms that she's noticed, is that just with the diet alone, that her hand, which was tight, it softened and opened up. And then people find they can start using it again. They often have to use physiotherapy, but it's so exciting, right? It is so exciting. So the good news is that with using the right steps, by treating the cause and using effective treatments and a successful prep phase, that you can have so much more recovery than you thought possible. You can stop the disease so it doesn't get worse, and again, have more success, recovery than you thought possible. I'm going to go to your questions. All right, there's quite a few here. Hello, Gail. Hi, Gail. Thank you. You are amazing. And I just wanted to say that if you enjoy these types of videos, please share them with others. We have to get these conversations going. These are things you can talk to your neurologist about. You can say, hey, I just saw some research about mitochondrial transplantation, and it really saddens me because it seems to be going in the wrong direction, because most of the research coming out is talking about the gut microbiome, the gut microbiota in MS, and how dysbiosis, and he'll be looking at you like, what? How do you know all these words, right? But dysbiosis, where you're really out of balance, you have too many disease-causing microbes. And I just really hope that you support me, because that's the direction that I want to go. That makes a lot of sense to me. I've had a lot of gut issues. I'm just pretending like how to talk to your doctor. I've had a lot of digestive issues. I've had a lot of symptoms of dysbiosis in the past and still currently. And, this field of research really looks like it offers a lot of hope for me. And I'm just wondering if you would be supportive if I want to go in this direction. And if it's a good neurologist, they'll say, well, as long as what they're recommending is safe, that it's not going to hurt you, I definitely would be open to looking at it. And then just give them research, give them these studies that I've been sharing about you don't have to give them my video, because they probably don't want to learn from somebody who's not a neurologist, but you can give them the studies. You can point them to the Live Disease Free evidence, our website, livediseasefree.com. And then you'll see in the main menu, it says evidence that multiple sclerosis is an infectious disease. And then there's just different categories of MS and Lyme disease, MS and fungus, MS and parasites. And they can see a whole bunch of different studies that are linking, different types of infections with MS. Also, I think what's even more helpful if you really want to bring change is to start talking in different MS groups about infection and about sharing this research and sharing. That's where you can share my video, because it's the lay person, right? It's the person who's suffering with the disease and the person who's searching for an answer. And you just don't know when you share it, who you reach in what part of the world and how much it changes their life. So you are the foot soldiers. You are the people that I can't do this by myself. I really can't. I'm just one person. Sure, we have a team behind me, but I'm the only one that's in the forefront. And so it's really going to take wellness champions, people that value wellness, and they value making a difference in the lives of others, because it's enough now. We've had enough of this nonsense of going down all these bunny trails. And yes, it's lucrative for certain companies, but we're done. It's time for a cure. It's time for us to treat the cause. It's time to allow people to get number one, when they're newly diagnosed, to nip it in the bud and get on with their life. And for those that have suffered terribly for years, to get the right treatment, to get the doctors trained on this, to get these treatments accessible. It is so hard in Canada and in different countries to get access to treating these parasites. They're old, safe drugs. They are not like the immunosuppressive drugs. And yet it's like they've put everything against us, so we can't treat the cause. But we can. We definitely can. Hi, Gail. Thank you for sharing. And let's see here. You wanted to ask a question. I don't see your question. Maybe it's later. So, Facebook user, how many eggs do ropeworm parasites lay in a day? So a ropeworm is not a roundworm. A ropeworm, they don't really know what it is. And so it is, I think what I'm guessing it is that when you've had dysbiosis for a long time, you get this like coating or biofilm inside of your intestines, and there can be different microbes that live in it, and it can be almost an interaction between maybe a few cells of your, I'm just guessing, but it is a different thing. So it's not just one parasite. A ropeworm is, it'll have multiple microbes in it, different types of parasites in it, and it'll be more bumpy. It won't look as much like a worm. A worm would be a little bit more slender, and it's not going to be as bumpy. But the crazy thing is when people pass these ropeworms, they notice huge improvements. So I don't think that they lay eggs. I think that they are just kind of like a community kind of, and it could be an interaction between some of the cells of our intestines and some of these different infections. But as they are shed, as this ropeworm is shed, it really gives people tremendous improvements in their health. But with respect to roundworms, they can lay at least 100,000 eggs per day. Just depends on the type of worm. So they're just disgusting. So we don't have to get worried in order for the nerves and the cells to heal. We don't have to get the worms out in order for the nerves and cells to heal. Yes, definitely you want to treat. That's the only way you will heal, is when you get, and it's not just worms. Parasite is any critter that's living inside of you that's causing you harm. Again, fungus, bacteria, single cell parasites, protists, which are called protists, and worms, big, small. So all of these disease-causing microbes, you have to decrease their population enough in your body so that you are completely symptom-free. Then your mitochondria can just work properly. Everything can work properly. Your immune system will work properly. You won't have these cytokine cascades, these storms of inflammation. All of that is caused by these infections, and as they are treated, it's really like an immune modulatory effect on us. All right. Hi, John. So gut health, Gail, is not just, let me just grab some water. Gut health is not just destroyed by candida or yeast. There are some, I've shared videos, and for example, there are some bacteria that produce really nasty neurotoxins that cause leaky gut, cause leaky brain, and that's just a small sample of the research. So there's like Clostridia, but there's other bacteria. And so it is not just fungus that causes a breakdown in the digestive tract. It's all the ones I've mentioned. EpsteinBarr virus is hurting our bodies. I did some videos on that, Shannon, and I would encourage you to go and listen to them, and you might have a different thought when you're done listening to them. Could the EpsteinBarr virus be more active if we have a lot of dysbiosis, if we're really sick, if our immune system is overwhelmed? Absolutely, it could be. But there is just not strong evidence that EpsteinBarr virus, I should say the evidence is not clear or strong that it is a big trigger or the trigger for multiple sclerosis. And I did some videos on that. You can find that on go to livediseasefree.com onto the blog section. It's just done within this last, I would say, 3 or 4 videos ago or blog posts ago. And the exciting thing is too, we're starting to put our videos up on our website. So please make sure to visit there so that if there's anything that happens to our videos, they're in a safe place. livediseasefree.com. Hi, Tracy. Yes, you're tired of us humans being guinea pigs. So am I. It's just, when I was first diagnosed with MS when I was 28 years old, and that was back in 1988, I didn't know anything about disease. I totally trusted the healthcare system. I would have taken an experimental drug. But now when I've been working with over 1,000 students in the Live Disease Free program, and I've talked to thousands of people, interviewed thousands of people that have MS, and it just breaks my heart, the direction that we're going, like with these monoclonal antibodies, where we are wiping out our B cells and possibly our T cells. We need those immune cells for our natural defense, and it makes us more susceptible to cancer and to other diseases. And it's heartbreaking to see what's happening. And even with the stem cell transplants, we just need to treat infections. We need to just leave our bodies alone, support our bodies, support our immune system, and really help to decrease the burden of these infections. We don't need to be guinea pigs. And being a guinea pig, there's sometimes we can't reverse the damage of these pharmaceuticals. I'm not against pharmaceuticals. We use some of them to treat parasites. But we use them for very specific reasons, treating the cause short term. These are very old, safe drugs, and you're just using it like pulsing just to help treat. Because we found that the herbs by themselves are not strong enough. So you suffer from a pharmaceutical injury on top of the MS. I am so sorry, Tracy, to hear that. I really hope you look for a different path. I hope that you are going to be like me, a lot of you on this video, where, I wasn't given any hope. This was back in 1988. I was told, you're going to be in a wheelchair. Sometimes MS hits people slowly, sometimes quickly. But I'm telling you as the expert, people will tell you about all kinds of snake oil cures. There's nothing you could do. And I was 20 years old. I'd been healthy all my life. And I'm like, wow, brutal. And then by the grace of God, I got a book, one book. And that book talked about infections 30 years ago. So this information, and then I found 4 other books by medical doctors 30 years ago, around that same time, all treating infections in their patients that had chronic disease, including MS, and they were recovering. They'd stop the progression and have a lot of recovery. So this has been known forever. And when I talk to people today, they're still telling me that they have never heard that infections are causing their symptoms. They've never heard this before. So it is so sad, but I hope that through my videos, I inspire you to take a different path, because your life is short and you cannot live like this. I mean, it's just, MS just steals your life, and it doesn't have to. We do know the cause. So Julie, not me, Big Pharma not getting my money. So the Combra vitamin D protocol, when you take high doses of vitamin D, it acts like a steroid in your body. It's not going to give you the results that you want. It is another symptom management. And taking high doses of vitamin D for a long period of time could be toxic. So we take vitamin D, or students take vitamin D if they're deficient, but they'll only take just maybe 2,000 to 3,000 international units. Try to get sunshine when you can, but the high doses of vitamin D is not the answer if you want to recover. Yes, that is true, Gail. All right, I'll see a couple more questions and then I'm going to let you guys go. Yes, remember AZT for AIDS, thousands of dollars. Now, there's so much to that story. I can't even talk about it or we will get censored. Hi, Julie. Yes, unfortunately. So my students have told me, I'm in Canada, but my students in the US have told me that with their US doctors, there's a place you can go and you can actually see how much your doctor is getting kickbacks on the MS drugs that he or she is prescribing. Yes, most cancers are caused by parasites, Gail. Absolutely. All chronic disease. And a long time ago, they decided that they didn't want to treat infections because there's no big business in it. It is evil, it is corrupt, it is awful. I'm not blaming the doctors. It's the people at the top. They know what's going on. Our doctors are trained in a certain way. They feel they're doing their best. They are mistrained, unfortunately. All right, I just see great discussions. Awesome. I'm going to let you guys keep talking. We will go and answer your comments, so make sure to type your comments. So if this is the first time that we've met, make sure to watch some of my videos. Start to learn about the infections. So on Live Disease Free, on our website, well, maybe don't go there quite yet. I don't know if it's on a preview mode, but it will be within the next few days. We will have the playlists there. Or YouTube, Live Disease Free for now. And you'll find an infection playlist. You'll find an eating plan playlist. You can learn about the Live Disease Free diet. You can start to implement. You can start to feel better. And then I've got a lot of other videos. There's successes. You can hear the successes of the students on our website, livediseasefree.com. You can also hear them on Live Disease Free YouTube channel. So start to build a belief. Start to understand that there is hope for you. There is a better way. And start to change your diet so you start to see the inflammation going down. If you need support, we also have a quiz on our website, livediseasefree.com. That's very recent. Right on the homepage, on the top, not top, in the banner, on the left-hand side, take the quiz to see, do I have chronic infections? Could I have chronic infections? So you can take that quiz, you'll get a little report. And then if you need support, if you need a tried and true, trusted plan that works, proven plan that works to support you so that you get ready to treat, you know how to treat safely, you know how to access whatever it is, the treatments, the practitioner, whatever it is, in the very most cost-effective way to recover, we can help you in the Live Disease Free program. Watch my masterclass training, and I will be hosting a live training in about 2 weeks. So I think next week I'll still be doing a live event, but the following week after that, I will be doing my live masterclass training. But you can listen. There will be a replay beside this video. So I think I've given you lots of homework. That's my background as a teacher. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you soon. Take care and bye-bye for now.